You're listening to The Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell, and co-host, Keelan Harvey on Alternative Talk AM 1150. Now, back to the show with local mortgage experts, Tina Mitchell and Keelan Harvey.
I love it, Laura. You're bobbing your head to the music. Me and Tina do that all the time, and we got a guest that's doing it now. I appreciate that. You are listening to The Money Hour on 1150 AM KKNW, the Saturday, August 7th show. You can also listen to our podcast, Facebook premiere show, or on our show YouTube channel. For additional information on upcoming events, please go to tinamitchellevents.com. Our host today, Tina, she's out, but I'm standing in, and we're having a good time here on The Money Hour. And as in me, as in your co-host here, Keelan Harvey. We bring into studio each week the best experts in our local market on everything money. I'm here to help you in today's economy. And now we have Laura Benjamin of wpDuo, everything you wish you knew about website agencies, right here on 1150 AM KKNW. Laura, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Keelan. You're doing great.
Thank you. I'm doing my best. You know, this is actually the second time I've ran it on my own, and I give Tina her credit. It's not easy. But let's talk about you. So Laura's the owner of wpDuo and Laura Benjamin LLC. She's been working professionally to develop brands and design websites since 2003, during which time she has been honored with numerous industry awards. When she isn't working with her team to deliver great website service or consulting with clients on building their brand marketing system, she spends time with her family, playing games, and working on home improvement projects. I could completely sympathize with that, Laura. Oh, yeah. So starting right out of the gate, why do you recommend WordPress for a website?
So one of the things that we see from a lot of agencies, especially small market or local agencies, is that they build on their own platforms. They've got something that they have been building up for years and years. And part of that is a strategy that they use to try to keep you as sort of a captive member of their client list. So if you ever want someone else to work on that website, it becomes very hard for someone to do that. WordPress, we love WordPress because it is open source. It is your own website. You own it. It's portable, so you can take it anywhere you want. You can have anyone else work on it. And these local market firms that can't keep you hostage, or if you're using some of those like DIY website tools as well, things like Squarespace or Wix, those are great for starting out. But as soon as you want to do something a little bit more custom, you really can't do that same level that you can do on WordPress.
I love your mentioning that specifically because, you know, trying to do a website, there's so much information coming at us and so many different tools, and it just keeps growing and growing. So as a professional like yourself, finding out what is the best really helps everybody. So why would anyone hire a team to manage their website when you could go on a Squarespace and do an at-home, you know, kind of website per se?
Yeah, great question. And so we used to be an agency just like a lot of these other ones. We've always been a WordPress shop, but the reason that we pivoted into really working in website management is that we found that a lot of business owners don't have time to deal with the ins and outs of their website. Their time is better spent running their business. They can't remember how to do a lot of those things. WordPress is pretty robust, so it's hard to break your website if you've got something on WordPress, but ultimately, like, it's up to you and your, like, how efficient you can be as an entrepreneur to be focusing on those things where you excel the best. And when you have a website management service, and we're not the only one out there, but when you have a service that's between an agency that maybe doesn't have time for you and a bare bones hosting or DIY solution, you've got someone that can just really quickly in and out keep pace with your business and your website updates, that can be a tremendous value to your organization.
Heck yeah. Me and Tina always say, hire out your weaknesses. And maybe it's not your weakness, but it's definitely not your expertise. So why wouldn't you get a professional such as Laura that knows everything about it and can get out there and design something that is useful? And also think about the time you would save. We don't got time to be designing websites. And speaking of, leads me to my next question, is why is updating a website so expensive? Because it can be costly. And why does it take so long?
That's a great question. And again, why we moved out of that agency model, because agency models are dependent on a project price per update model. So instead of being able to just really quickly get something in and out the door, a lot of these agencies are designed to try to look for the maximum revenue they can make. They're not always looking at the best interest or the value that it makes for the business. They're thinking about their bottom line. And so for them, they look at a project that should be something that takes an hour or maybe 2 hours to get done for most people, and they say, well, how do we turn that into a 4-hour project or a 6-hour project, and how do we maximize the amount we're charging for it? How do we have a bunch of meetings kind of leading in? And they're not necessarily built to be responsive. They have to spend a lot of time filtering that in among these huge projects that they're trying to get done. So that's why it tends to take a long time, is it just sort of falls to the bottom of the to-do list, and they're not built to manage things in a responsive way.
Yeah, that's not cool. They're just kind of adding hours on there, making it more complicated than it needs to be. That doesn't sound like a fun gig for anybody.
And not everyone, but a lot of their models do depend on that. So even though it sounds a little unscrupulous, I think that there's still that tendency where people will stretch things out longer than they really need to.
It happens in our business too. I won't name names, but there's big companies out there that make their money on origination fees. It's like a whole different thing than even processing and underwriting your loans. So, there's that piece that they make just because they're big and that's how they work. So not cool. Obviously, a website is not just there as like a business card. You really need a website for a purpose. So how should businesses be using their website, in your opinion?
I always think of the website as sort of your online hub for your marketing. It's something that should be performing a vital business function. It either replaces something that your business does that people maybe are normally doing and that they're freed up then to do other things, or maybe it serves a part of your sales funnel. So this could be things like lead generation or serving as a direct response piece for your marketing. It could be a way that customers come on your site and stay up to date. It could be a great repository for your content. If you're able to create small pieces of content or blog every week, that can be tremendous value to your customers and they keep coming back. It could be a sales portal. It can be used for appointment setting without anyone ever having to answer a phone or answer an email. There are a lot of ways that small businesses can use their websites that sometimes they haven't even thought of beyond that brochure model.
I love that, Laura. Did you hear that? There is a purpose behind it. She's talking about sales, funnels and, and nowadays I heard we have less of a, attention span of a goldfish. So it's about the efficiency of that, getting people on there and bringing them to action, not just like, oh, look at us. Because a lot of times when you do that, people are just going to move on because they don't even know what to do on your webpage. So everything you said there was about action and a reason for having your website, not just kind of a look at us, we're cool, we have a picture,
If your website isn't doing something for your business, what's the point of having one?
Exactly. And I'm sure you see this, obviously you see a ton of this stuff. What is the biggest mistake that you see with business websites?
Yeah, all the time. I see people not keeping it up to date. Maybe it's been 2 or 3 years since their last update. And that doesn't have to be a big update, but sometimes just making sure that your homepage is refreshed in some way from month to month. You've got your most current specials up there. You've got events that are accurate. I was having a conversation the other day with a business owner that was frustrated with one of the vendors that she was trying to hire. And she said, well, I went to go look for this event on their website, but of course, nothing was up to date. So I had to pick up the phone and that was frustrating for me. And now I wonder if they're even up to date on all this other stuff. And so these are the kinds of things that cascade into bigger problems for a business and they need to be realized. So keeping it up to date, making sure that you're leading with good marketing copy and not just sort of putting your features out there, but really sharing the benefits that you have for a specific audience, and then having good calls to action so you can actually get the results that you want out of your website.
That's great information. In your opinion, Laura, how often should a business update their website?
So most businesses can get away with maybe bi-weekly to monthly. Again, this is depending on a little bit of their strategy, but oftentimes it's company information, events, posts that they might put in their blog. Content is the thing that gets people to come back to a website. A lot of people that I work with will come to me and say, well, it started great and we got a ton of traffic and then it sort of just petered out. And I say, well, what updates did you put out there to keep people coming back? Because everyone's done this, right? You redesign a website, you launch it, you see this big spike in traffic, and then suddenly 3 months go by and it goes down a little. 3 months more go by and it goes down a little. And the reason being, people like fresh things. They like to be kept up to date. So if you keep that cycle going about every 2 or 3 weeks, you've got a lot of good fresh content in the pipeline. People will keep coming back.
That makes a lot of sense to me. I would be shocked if people update their website once a year. It's just kind of like, oh, we did that and we're just going to leave it there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's huge. Listen to that. Change, update your website, keep it up to speed. What kind of updates do you typically recommend for your customers?
Yeah, so just like I said, blog posts, other informational changes about their business. Maybe you want to add new pages as your services grow or change. Whatever fresh or new, even search optimized content, Google loves that stuff because they continually re-index your site based on new terms and signals that they pick up about your business.
Interesting. Yeah, we didn't even think about that side of it. That's a whole different thing.
It is.
Yeah, and we can, and we'll have you back on the show. Maybe we talk about that next time because that's a whole nother thing. So we are down to 1 minute. So my last question would be, do I need to redesign my website every few years?
We see that a lot too, where people, again, have not kept their website up to date. It's been 5 or 6 years and they just look at it and say, gosh, this looks like how we looked back in 2014, which of course, no one looks like no one has the same business today that they had in 2014. But here's the thing, if you keep that website up to date every month or two, that website will last 7+ years or even longer. You don't have to spend thousands and thousands of dollars redesigning this website. It's something that if you keep these small pieces up to date, make small additions over time, in 7 years, you look at that website and go, gosh, it's still a great website. It's still up to date. We don't have to do a full-on rebuild. We can just keep adding on and making this better and better for our business and for our customers.
I love that. So if you do it right from the beginning with Laura and it's what it should be, it should actually save you money because you're not trying to reinvent your website all the time. You've done it right from the beginning and now you only need pieces rather than a brand new website. So that is great advice for everybody out there listening. Laura, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's so nice to have you.
Thanks, Keelan. It was great to be here.